Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. My name is Tom. Today is Sunday, November the 18th. It is Survivor Series Sunday. It's a big weekend for pro wrestling. A lot of stuff going on this week. A lot of big changes actually made to Survivor Series this past week. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been checking out the show. Thanks for all the downloads, all the listens, and everything like that. Hope everybody's checking it out on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, any place you can find your podcasts. And I also hope everybody's following on social media, on Facebook at facebook.com/CatchHookShoot, Twitter at CatchHookShoot, Instagram at CatchHookShoot, and also on Snapchat, also at CatchHookShoot. So let's dive right in here today. First of all, like I said, some of the big changes that happened with the Survivor Series card. I'm sure everybody saw on Raw Monday night, the SmackDown Women's Division attacked the Raw Women's Division. A huge brawl to end the show. It was a really, really good segment. Started with Becky Lynch attacking Ronda Rousey backstage, had her in the disarmor, and made Becky look really, really strong. Then, of course, the entire SmackDown Women's Division came out to the ring and attacked the Raw Women's Division. Just a huge, huge brawl going on with the SmackDown women coming out on top. And during the course of that brawl, Becky Lynch caught a pretty good shot to the face from Nia Jax, ended up with a broken nose and a severe concussion, and because of that had to drop out of her match with Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series. She's going to be replaced by Charlotte, so that means Charlotte is not going to be a part of the women's elimination 5-on-5 tag team match during the Survivor Series. Nia Jax caught a lot of heat online for this, saying she did it on purpose, or saying that she's just careless and reckless and, was hurting people and things like that. Basically the same kind of heat that Brie Bella caught when Liv Morgan was not really injured, but took a good stiff kick to the face during a match on Raw a few weeks ago. And, it's probably the oldest cliche in wrestling. It's not ballet, folks. People get hurt, accidents happen. I don't think Nia, threw that shot with any malice or anything like that. I mean, I'll say the same thing I did with the Brie Bella incident. If you weren't there, if you've never been in that situation, you've never been in the ring, you've never been in that spot, and especially like this where there's, a dozen, 15 people in the ring at the same time, stuff going on all over the place. She turned around, she threw a punch and connected, I'm sure, a lot harder than maybe she intended to. And it happens. It's professional wrestling. It's not ballet. People are going to get hurt. Accidents are going to happen. The only thing you can hope to do is minimize it. And one thing I got to say, one of the people online that had a lot to say about this was Bryan Alvarez. And, supposedly he's had over 1,000 professional matches and things like this. And, not anywhere that I've ever seen, quite frankly. But, he's been in the ring with Lance Storm and the Rock and Roll Express. And, hey, great. So you've had, supposedly 1,000 matches in backyards and no-name indie promotions with some of the greatest names in the business, some of the best workers in the business, who I'm sure carried you to a halfway decent match. I'm sorry, but you've never been at that level. You never will be at that level. And, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You think it was on purpose, you think it was reckless, hey, fine, whatever. But bottom line is, yes, you're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion honestly means less than zero. And I'm not just talking to Alvarez, I'm talking to anybody who's never been in the ring and never been in that position. I have my opinion on it, but same thing, my opinion means less than zero too. My personal opinion on it, it wasn't on purpose, it wasn't done with malice, it was an accident. Just like the Brie Bella incident was an accident. Just like when back in the day Kevin Nash dropped the Big Show directly on his head during a powerbomb, damn near broke his neck. It was an accident. When Owen Hart tombstone Stone Cold and did break his neck, it was an accident. Stuff is going to happen. People are going to get hurt. And, like I said, the only thing you can hope to do is minimize it so that, people aren't permanently injured or anything like that. But, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about this. I'm still a huge fan of Nia Jax. I'm still a huge fan of Becky Lynch. And, they continued They continued it over on the social media, going back and forth a little bit on Twitter. So that tells me, there's no real heat there. They're working it to possibly, hey, it can be used going forward. I think a Nia Jax Becky Lynch feud would be huge. It would be great. But now the rumors circulating online, that's all they are, is rumors at this point, is that the planned WrestleMania main event between Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, which is obviously happening tonight at Survivor Series, is going to be switched to possibly Becky Lynch and Charlotte at WrestleMania, which I think would be just as great of a match. It would be just as big of a draw, and is a match that could main event WrestleMania, as in the last match of the show. We'll have to see how that plays out. WrestleMania is still a few months off. I'm sure plans are still, in the works and being formulated and things like that. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But, I definitely would not complain about seeing Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, possibly in a title unification match at WrestleMania, because as everybody knows by now, SmackDown's going to be moving to Fox next year, and the brand split is pretty much going to come to an end. So you're going to see some titles being unified leading up to that. So that, could the women's title be the first one at WrestleMania? Wouldn't surprise me at all. Another interesting note that happened on SmackDown, we have a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion in Daniel Bryan, defeated AJ Styles in the main event and made a heel turn in the process, hit AJ with a low blow, and scored the pinfall. So now at Survivor Series, instead of AJ versus Brock Lesnar in the champion versus champion match, it is going to be Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. Now again, more online rumors circulating about this is the reason for the title change and the heel turn by Daniel Bryan is because AJ Styles' contract is coming up at the end of this year on December 31st, and that this was originally planned to be part of the SmackDown WrestleMania main event, this exact scenario, Daniel Bryan winning the championship, turning heel. But they accelerated it because AJ has not signed a new contract. Apparently there's a little bit of a snag with the terms of the contract from the online rumors, and I stress rumors. I'm not saying this is factual information, because the only people that know the facts of this are the WWE and AJ Styles. But the rumor is that they're a bit of a snag on the terms of the contract. WWE wants to sign AJ to a 5-year full-time contract, and AJ would rather have he's looking for a 3-year limited date contract. I don't know if that necessarily means part-time, like a Brock Lesnar or Undertaker type of deal, or just, scaled back dates, not so many house shows, more so just TV and pay-per-views, or whatever the case may be, which, not unreasonable. AJ's a family guy. The aspect of his feud with Samoa Joe a few months ago, about him not being able to spend time with his family because he's on the road so much, that is a real thing, and they kind of work that into the storyline there. But supposedly that actually is his reasoning for wanting the more limited contract. But again, this is an online rumor. Only ones who know what's actually going on are the WWE and AJ Styles. So we'll see how that one plays out. I hope one way or another AJ does re-sign with WWE. As far as all of the independent and free agent guys that WWE has picked up over the last few years, I would say AJ has probably been the biggest success out of all of them. Held the WWE title for over a year, which is, at this point in time is really unheard of, especially for a guy who was not a homegrown WWE talent. So, I really hope he is able to re-sign and stays with the company, especially if the other rumors going around are true, that the WWE is trying to sign like Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and Hangman Page and Kenny Omega and those type of guys, basically the Bullet Club Elite. I'd love to see AJ there along with that group of guys, and I'd love to see Gallows and Anderson get a little more prominent role rather than just kind of what they've been relegated to at this point. But I know they can't be called the Bullet Club or even the Elite. Well, possibly the Elite, maybe. But I'd love to see all of those guys plus Finn Balor, work together somehow, some way. I think the fans would go nuts for it. And WWE honestly would be kind of stupid not to strike while the iron is hot, so to speak, on that, because that the Bullet Club, the Elite, is the hottest group in wrestling. It has been for quite a while now. So if WWE does manage to pull off a miracle and sign all of these guys away from New Japan and Ring of Honor, they'd be crazy not to keep them together and, you know, work AJ and Finn and Gallows and Anderson into the mix somehow, whether it's all together or rivalries amongst the guys. You know, it's you can't lose. So, but you know, that's more kind of fantasy booking on my part, hoping to see that. But we'll see how things play out. And so, of course, last night was the one more thing I wanted to mention about the whole Daniel Bryan AJ Styles thing was, you know, like I said, supposedly this was supposed to happen at WrestleMania. You know, AJ's next program was supposed to be with The Miz. Bryan's next thing was supposed to be with Randy Orton, or vice versa. I don't remember. It was Miz and Randy Orton were supposed to be in the mix with AJ and Daniel. But supposedly Daniel Bryan still has heat on him for refusing to do the Crown Jewel show in Saudi Arabia. But my thing, if that's the case, why? I mean, I understand, okay, you want to take the title off of AJ because his contract's going to be up in less than 2 months here. But if Bryan's really got that much heat on him, you know, why put the title on Bryan? There's plenty of other guys. I mean, you know, there's plenty of other directions WWE could have gone that would have been completely believable. You know, wouldn't have required huge changes to storylines or anything like that. I mean, you could have, you know, you could have put the title on The Miz. You could have put it on Randy Orton. You could have put it on Samoa Joe at Crown Jewel. You could have had him win the title, and that'd be that. You know, if it was that big of an issue, and if it was really that big of an issue about Bryan not competing at Crown Jewel. There's also Jeff Hardy, Shinsuke Nakamura, plenty of other guys that the title could have been put on to get it off of AJ, other than Daniel Bryan, if he's got so much heat on him. So that's my take on it. You know, that's why I say, you know, you have to take anything you read online, any rumors or supposed storylines or anything like that. You have to take it with a grain of salt, because that's all it is rumors, innuendo, opinions. You know, the supposedly, you know, all these online dirt sheets and everything, they have sources within WWE. Well, you know what? Who is it really? Where are you really getting your information from? Is it some office person who happened to overhear something at the water cooler, or, you know, or do you have a creative team member who is a source who is feeding you legit information? I mean, of course, you don't want to name names because then you're putting somebody's job in jeopardy, but, you know, at least give something. Tell, you know, oh, this comes from a creative team member, or this comes from an agent, or this comes from a producer, you know, or, you know, this comes from somebody in the office, or something like that. But, you know, when they just say a source, I'm sorry, it's not credible in my opinion. And if it happens to come through, you know, what they said was right, hey, they made a good guess then. That's what I chalk it up to. But anyway, again, that's just my opinion. So let's get into the all the action that's going on this weekend. Last night was the NXT TakeOver War Games event. Yeah, if you missed this one, you need to go back and watch it. This was one of the best NXT takeovers that I can remember. First match of the night, kind of a last-minute addition, or at least that's how it looked. Matt Riddle versus Cassius Ohno. Matt Riddle's first NXT TakeOver match. Matt Riddle defeated Cassius Ohno, took the victory pretty quickly, as a matter of fact, and then from there moved on to the women's NXT Championship match. Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane, 2 out of 3 falls. Shayna Baszler picked up the victory in this one, 2 falls to 1. Again, she got some assistance from the other 2 MMA horsewomen, Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke. This time, Kairi Sane did have some assistance of her own in Dakota Kai and Io Shirai, so I'm looking for some possible, you know, 6-person tag team matches coming up in the future to carry this rivalry forward. It's also Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir's kind of intro to NXT TV. I know they've been working house shows, non-televised events, working in some 6-person tag matches with Shayna already. So that's, you know, I think that's a good way to kind of ease them into the ring in NXT. It's not throwing them out there on their own. I'd say they're doing it the right way with these two. So I'm excited to see them on TV and see what they can do in the ring, whether it's in 6-person matches, tag team matches, singles, whatever. Because I think it's all, you know, I'm still hoping, just like I think everybody else is, it's still building to the 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen. As long as all 8 of these women involved in this feud are under contract to WWE, you have to see that match at some point. Again, this is another thing where WWE, I think, would be kind of crazy to not take advantage of that, because there is so much fan interest in seeing it. And, you know, they're four of the best athletes in the world, four of the best female athletes in the world, or forget even female, just four of the best athletes in the world. You've got four, you know, professional MMA fighters in Ronda Rousey's crew, and four of the leaders of the women's evolution in WWE on the side of Charlotte and Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. So it would be just a fantastic match. I wish they could have pulled the trigger on it to make it for Survivor Series for a 4-on-4 elimination, but I don't think there was really enough time to get that set up and promote it properly. So I'm hoping they don't hold off on it until next Survivor Series. You know, maybe we'll see it at possibly at WrestleMania, but I doubt it, because you've got to have the championship matches, and I'm sure Ronda is still going to be champion by that time. Same thing with Shayna, and as well as Becky Lynch. So you've got to have all those titles being defended WrestleMania weekend. So, but I would hope within the next 6 months that that's something that we would see as 4 horsewomen of MMA versus the 4 horsewomen of WWE. So that's, you know, I'm excited about that one, really. But yeah, so Shayna did retain the championship 2 falls to 1 over Kairi Sane. Was a great match as usual. These two have had, I think it's 5 matches now, and each one's been better than the last. Shayna Baszler has really come into her own, and has made really a seamless transition from MMA into pro wrestling, kind of along the same lines as Ronda Rousey had. I'd actually say Shayna maybe has made even a better transition, because she, you know, I think Shayna is pretty good on the microphone with her promo. She's obviously gotten a lot better since she first entered NXT. Ronda is becoming better, but I think, you know, Shayna is, yes, I mean, you know, again, has made a seamless transition. I'm hoping that the other 2 horsewomen, Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shafir, can have the same kind of transition. Haven't really heard them on the mic, or, you know, really seen them on TV work in the ring so much. It's been mostly outside interference and things like that in Shayna's last couple matches. But, you know, if they're anywhere on the same level as Ronda and Shayna, I'm expecting some really good things coming up in the NXT women's division in the next few months. So the next match on the card, Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano. This, my God, great, fantastic match between these two guys. Aleister Black was victorious after hitting the 2 Black Masses on Johnny Gargano. I got a feeling that this particular rivalry is not done with quite yet, unless Aleister Black happens to get called up to the main roster, which is a distinct possibility. I mean, I'd definitely say he's ready for Raw or SmackDown, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him, you know, on the main roster as soon as this coming week. But I have to wait and see, because I'd love to see a couple more matches between him and Gargano. Next match on the TakeOver card was the NXT Championship. Tommaso Ciampa defending against Velveteen Dream. Another classic match. You know, I mean, I can't say enough good things about either one of these guys. Definitely two of the top guys in NXT, 2 of the top guys in wrestling right now, period. Fantastic match. Velveteen Dream came out in some Hulk Hogan inspired garb again. This time it was the Hollywood Hogan black and white. Of course, the last pay-per-view is wearing the yellow and red. So I'm liking the Hulk Hogan tribute stuff he's doing. So I'm wondering if they're gonna work Hulk Hogan into a storyline with him at some point. I think that'd be pretty cool to see us. But you know, I'd love to see Hulk Hogan do something in NXT. Obviously not wrestling, but, you know, making appearances. Maybe, hey, maybe he ends up being Velveteen's manager for a match or 2. Who knows? But you know, I think it's cool that he's been having that kind of tribute to Hogan the last couple TakeOver pay-per-views. And the final match of the night was the War Games match with Undisputed Era taking on the War Raiders, Pete Dunne and Ricochet. This match was ridiculous. This was the best War Games match that I have seen in a very long time. It was better than last year's NXT War Games. It was better than, I'll say, the last 4 or 5 WCW War Games matches. I mean, these 8 guys went out there and gave 1,000%, and just some insane spots in this match. Ricochet hit a double moonsault off the top of the cage, took out everybody else in the match. And to me, this was the best match of the night, in my opinion. I know a lot of people said Ciampa and Velveteen Dream was a match of the night, and like I said, any one of these matches on this card could have been the main event, and I don't think anybody would have complained. But the War Games match to me was the match of the night, and they did it right. They went back to the traditional type War Games rather than the 3 teams of 3. They went back to the 4-on-4 format. They still do not have a top on the cage, but I actually kind of like that, especially with the rule that if you leave the cage, your team loses. And it's they do allow pinfalls, which the old NWA WCW War Games did not. It was just submission or surrender, and there were no referees inside the ring, so it kind of made the end of the match a little anticlimactic. So the way NXT's doing it, I really like it with the referee inside the ring. You can win by pinfall, which the War Raiders team did. And I cannot stress enough, you need to check this match out. If you have the network, go back and watch it. If you saw it last night, go watch it again. It's, the best War Games match I've seen, I will say, in at least the last 20 years. I will go that far. So, if not even more than that. But, yeah, so let's move on to Survivor Series coming up here tonight. Yeah, a lot of good matches on this card. I think it should be, on paper, should be a great pay-per-view. Traditional, Raw versus SmackDown matches. So you got no title matches tonight. It's champions versus champions, and you've got the traditional Survivor Series matches, the 5-on-5 and the 10-on-10. Actually, no, I'm sorry. There is one title match tonight for the Cruiserweight Championship. You've got Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali. I'm gonna guess this one's gonna be on the kickoff show, but they didn't say that, so maybe it will be on the main card. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see once the show starts here in a couple hours. But yeah, that one, that rivalry has been brewing for a little bit on 205 Live. I'm really looking forward to this one. Buddy Murphy has come into his own so much since he moved to 205 Live, which is really, really great for him, because he was kind of just spinning his wheels in NXT after he and Wesley Blake split up and Alexa Bliss went up to the main roster. Now you've got Buddy Murphy's the 205 Live Cruiserweight champion, and Wesley Blake has got his new faction in NXT, which is doing really great. So I'm hoping we're going to see them moving up the ranks, probably in the NXT Tag Team division here coming up. And as far as Mustafa Ali, who's challenging Murphy for the title tonight, I say Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander are the 2 best cruiserweights on 205 Live, and that's saying a lot, because everybody on that show is just super, super talented, and just fantastic wrestlers. And that's one of the things I like about 205 Live, especially since Triple H took it over. He's approaching it in kind of the same manner that he does NXT, kind of the same manner that ROH works under, that it's more so, yes, you have storylines, but the big draw is the in-ring performances. And it does not disappoint. If you have not checked out 205 Live, lately, give it a chance. Watch just go back and catch up on it. It's fantastic. If you are a fan of the in-ring performance, the in-ring product, if you're a fan of wrestling, 205 Live and NXT are the shows you need to be watching as far as WWE goes. Obviously, there's Ring of Honor, there's Impact, there's MLW, all these, really great wrestling promotions out there. And, WWE does have good wrestling shows out there. It's NXT and it's 205 Live. Those are the shows for wrestling fans that WWE has out there. Moving on with the Survivor Series card, they've brought back not really brought back, they had them last year too, but they kind of stepped away from these for a while. I am glad that they've brought them back, though. The 10-on-10 tag team Survivor Series matches. On the Raw side, we've got Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are the captains, and their team consists of the Revival, the B Team, Lucha House Party, and the Ascension. On the SmackDown side, we've got the Usos are the captains. Their team is the New Day, Sanity, Gallows and Anderson, and the Colognes, Epico and Primo, who haven't even been on TV and I don't know when. So I mean, that's the only thing I'm kind of disappointed about with this, is that the tag team divisions are a little weak at the moment. They were so hot just, within the last year or so. They kind of cooled off a little bit. They kind of, took some of the emphasis away from the tag team divisions on Raw and SmackDown, which, I'm hoping they're starting to build it back up. It looks like they might be. I'm still looking for Bobby Roode to make a heel turn at some point. There's been glimpses of it with him and Chad Gable, with Gable kind of stealing his thunder a little bit, taking his catchphrase, things like that. So I'm wondering if maybe it'll happen tonight. Bobby Roode and Gable, like I said, are the captains of the Raw side in this match, and I could just see it kind of breaking down and them fighting amongst each other, and SmackDown ends up winning this particular match. So that's what I'm hoping for, because Bobby Roode is such a good heel. I mean, he's okay as a babyface, but he's one of those guys, kind of like a Ric Flair or a Rick Rude. He is a natural heel. It seems effortless when he's working as a heel. And when he is working as a babyface, you can tell he's just doesn't appear to be 100% comfortable. But he, like I said, he's good as a babyface, but he is great as a heel. So I'm hoping to see that turn sooner rather than later. Next match on the card is the tag team champions from both Raw and SmackDown facing off. So the Authors of Pain versus The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus. This, I think, is probably one of the matches I'm most looking forward to tonight. These are probably my two favorite tag teams in WWE right now, and it should just be a brawl with these guys. I mean, of course, Cesaro and Sheamus are great wrestlers. The AOP are just the hard-hitting, brutal monster heels. So I'm just looking for this one to be a great tag team match. I can't wait to see this one. Next up, we've got the Women's Survivors match. On one side, the captain is Alexa Bliss, who is not participating in the match. But you've got the team members are Mickie James, Nia Jax, Tamina, Natalya, and Ruby Riott. I'm sure Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan are going to be at ringside for this one. And on the SmackDown side, you've got Carmella, Naomi, Sonya Deville, Asuka, and it was supposed to be Charlotte. They have not announced who her replacement is for this one yet. I'm making a guess that it's going to be Mandy Rose, since she did come out when Paige was introducing the team on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago, when Charlotte did not make her entrance to the ring. I'm going to say Mandy Rose is probably the one who is going to be taking her place. Would make sense. Now, they have been teasing a little bit of tension between Mandy and Sonya Deville, so it could be another thing like I was talking about with Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, where there's some tension on the team. It could spill out during the course of the match and maybe cause some issues and end up giving Raw the victory in this one. Then we have the men's 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, which is for Team Raw: Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and Bobby Lashley. Baron Corbin and Lio Rush probably going to be at ringside on the Raw side. And for SmackDown, we've got The Miz, Shane McMahon, Rey Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, and Jeff Hardy. Sorry about that, lost my place. This one, I love Shane McMahon. I love what he can do in the ring, but I could do without him in this match. I don't think it's conducive to his style. But hey, he's the SmackDown, not general manager, but the commissioner. So he was the first pick when The Miz and Daniel Bryan were the co-captains of the team. So, I mean, he can get it done in the ring. I'm not saying he's going to do a bad job. I just think they could have, put somebody else in there with these guys. But for this one, I'm thinking Raw probably has the stronger team. But then again, there's a lot of tension there between Ziggler, McIntyre, and Braun Strowman, so that could be a factor. And of course, Braun Strowman next in line for Universal title shot, on the condition that he gets through Survivor Series without attacking any of his teammates, specifically Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre and Ziggler, but we'll see how that one plays out. Can't really pick a winner in this one. I mean, I'm leaning towards Raw, but Smack wouldn't surprise me too much if SmackDown came out on top in this one. Next, we've got another champion versus champion match. Seth Rollins, the Intercontinental Champion for Raw, versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the United States Champion for SmackDown. This match should, and I stress should, steal the show, especially since it's just a one-off match. It's not part of a real rivalry. It's not going to be the beginning of a rivalry. It's not going to be the blow-off to a rivalry. It's a one-off at this point. So, if these guys go out there and just leave everything in the ring, this should be the match of the night. Now, there is the X factor of Dean Ambrose in this match with his rivalry with Seth Rollins, so don't be too surprised if you see him make a run in, interject himself in the match in one way or another to cost Seth the match. And then we had the women's. Well, it was originally supposed to be champion versus champion, but since Becky Lynch has had to bow out due to injury, we got Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. This is another one that could definitely steal the show. I expect it to be just a fantastic match between these two. This is the one, by all accounts, that was supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania. I was actually hoping Becky would have picked Asuka to take on Ronda at Survivor Series, but they decided to pull the trigger with Charlotte, not hold that one until WrestleMania, which, hey, they're looking to draw viewers. They're looking to get people interested and create buzz for the show, so can't blame them. I would love to see Ronda versus Asuka at some point, though. I think that'd be a great match too. But this one, wouldn't surprise me to see this one main event the show. I don't think it's going to, though. I'm pretty sure that this next match I'm going to be talking about will be the final match of the night. Kind of unfortunately, in my opinion, because I think the Ronda and Charlotte match would be a better main event, but I'm fairly certain it will be the champion versus champion match. Brock Lesnar, the Universal Champion, versus Daniel Bryan, the WWE Champion. On paper, you'd think this would be a good match. I'm completely soured on Brock Lesnar. I mean, I have a lot of respect for him as a fighter. Like I said, as an MMA fighter, I'm a huge fan of Brock Lesnar. As a pro wrestler, not so much. And it's really, I don't think, through any fault of his own. I mean, it's the way WWE's booking him. He's unstoppable. He can't be beaten, but he's just so one-dimensional now. He uses a German suplex and an F5, and that's it. And that's his entire match. And, since he came back to the WWE in, 2014, 2015, whatever it was, he's had the same match over and over and over. And, by all rights, he's still a huge draw. WWE's still making a lot of money off of him, which they should. Make as much money as you can. He's a huge, huge name. But he's capable of so much more in the ring. If you go back and look at his first run in WWE in the early 2000s, he can do so much more than just a German suplex and an F5. I mean, this is a guy who's an NCAA champion. He's been an IWGP champion. He's been a UFC world champion. There's so much more he can do. I mean, he does, at least when he first came back to WWE, he was, working more submission style using the Kimura lock and things like that. He doesn't even do that anymore. It's just German suplex, German suplex, German suplex, F5, F5, pin. And that's every match he has. And it honestly, it's boring. And I think a lot of fans, just based on the reactions that he's getting from the live crowds now, he's getting a lot of boos and things like that. They're sick of it. It's not so much even him holding the title and not being there, as just his matches have become stale. And, I think he's got he's getting close to his expiration date. I'll put it that way. But, like I said, potentially, yes, Daniel Bryan's a lot smaller than Brock, but potentially with the wrestling skills that both of these guys possess, this could be a great match. I just don't think it's going to be. And it's not through any fault of Daniel Bryan. It's not through any fault of Brock Lesnar. It's the way that the match is booked. And I'm sure, it's going to be the same match we've seen 100 times in the last few years. Again, German suplex, German suplex, German suplex, F5, F5, done. But with Daniel Bryan being a heel right now, there's a little glimmer of hope. You could see some underhanded tactics from him. And one thing that kind of caught my attention was on SmackDown this week when Paul Heyman came out addressing AJ Styles and started talking about Daniel Bryan. That's kind of what led to Bryan coming out, attacking AJ, and led to the title match at the end of the night. I'm just going to kind of pose a what if here. What if, Heyman coming out and bringing up Daniel Bryan as a opponent for Brock that people want to see was kind of, him laying a trap. What if, that was the plan all along, to have Bryan come out, challenge AJ, get the title, set this match up? What if Daniel Bryan is the next Paul Heyman guy? By all accounts, Brock is set to, he's got tonight and then one more match in WWE. So he's going to be on his way out. He's going to be dropping the Universal title at some point. So what if, Heyman's kind of getting out ahead of it and setting up his next venture in WWE, his next client, so to speak? What if we see Paul Heyman make a turn tonight and go with Daniel Bryan and help him get the win over Brock Lesnar? So that I would definitely not be opposed to seeing Paul Heyman and Daniel Bryan paired together, much the same way as Paul Heyman was paired with CM Punk. That was just a killer combination. I think it would be a lot of the same with Daniel Bryan. That's something I would actually love to see. Daniel Bryan as the next Paul Heyman guy. So just kind of a what if, something that I would really, really love seeing tonight. And something I'm kind of hoping to see, because like I said, Brock, by all accounts, is on his way out. He's got one more match after tonight. I'm sure will probably either be at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. Who knows? But it would not shock me to see Paul Heyman leaving Survivor Series tonight with Daniel Bryan rather than Brock Lesnar. So we'll have to see how that one goes. But I'm going to wrap this up here today. Survivor Series, the kickoff show is going to be starting here in just about an hour by my clock. So, going to wrap this up. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Hope everybody enjoyed NXT TakeOver War Games last night, and hope you all enjoy watching Survivor Series tonight. Now, next week, I've got a really special episode lined up. I'm going to have 3 of my friends coming by to do the show with me. One of them is my buddy Rich, who did all the top 5s with me a couple of months ago. We had a lot of fun doing that. I'm going to have 2 of our other friends coming by. We are going to be playing a few rounds of this game that I told you guys about on my All-In show, Smack Talk Showdown. It's a card game, kind of along the lines of Cards Against Humanity, but for wrestling fans. And it's basically, you draw cards that tell you what your persona is, what your segment's going to be, and there's smack cards that can be thrown into the mix to kind of have to change up the promo, and it's basically you cut promos on each other based on the cards that you draw for your, like I said, for your persona, your name, your segment, which basically tells you whatever your rivalry is or what your beef is with the person you're cutting a promo on. And the smack cards can be thrown in pretty much at any time to cause the person to have to change up their promo in right in the middle. And each person gets to cut a 45-second promo on whoever they're working with. And there's the producer, so to speak, the one that keeps the time and gives them what the segment is and things like that, decides who the winner is. And at the end of the round, the producer, like I said, decides who the winner is, and we basically play as many rounds as you choose, to however many points you decide on prior to the game, and whoever gets to that number of points first is the winner of the game. So it's it definitely sounds like a lot of fun. It should be good for at least a few laughs. But again, it's called Smack Talk Showdown. I picked this up at StarCast bought it from the gentleman who designed the game, and we're going to sit around. We're going to have some fun, play a few rounds, talk some smack to each other, and see who the champion smack talker is. So that's really all I've got for this week. Like I said, definitely please check out next week's show. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be posting it next Sunday, as always, Thanksgiving weekend. So until then, hope everybody, like I said, hope you enjoy Survivor Series tonight. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe during the holiday, and enjoy time off from work. Enjoy spending time with their families. I know I'm going to. And as always, please keep checking out the podcast on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube. And keep following on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Ever want to shoot me an email? It's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. Questions, comments, critique, anything you want to say, I welcome it all. So until next week, I hope everybody has a good week. Have a great holiday, and I will talk to you guys soon.